All right, welcome everybody. We are doing the November horoscopes. We're going to see what is in store for the month. And let's see now, we're going to start with Aries. What do we have for Aries for November? Whoa. Let's pull one more here. For Aries, okay. All right. All right, so it looks like we are going to be starting with Aries. Aries, what do we have going on for you this month? So this month, it seems it's going to be a little hectic, a little chaotic, something we saw there earlier with the card shuffle. So right now it is the shadow period for Mercury in retrograde, which is coming up. Excuse me. So with this shadow period, it's a lot of chaotic energy. And it's something too that this is a time you kind of got to be a little strong for, pulling out your strength here. You have to almost hunker down and be ready for whatever's coming your way. Expect a lot of mishap, expect a lot of bumps and, nicks and things breaking, just things not working. Also, too, this rolls into maybe even conflict with people and things not working within relationships and with people. I feel like though for you, Aries, there is a high possibility with you guys is that, in dealing with this, Mercury retrograde period throughout the month, you guys are going to be having some rough patches with people in your life or people close to you. And this could also be like the return of the exes type of energy coming in here as well. But I feel like you kind of adopt almost like a victim mentality or like woe is me, I'm beaten and bruised and battered, like this is really hard for me, why are they doing this for me? But this is a time for you to go through your lessons, do whatever you need to do to learn them and take accountability, because I feel like there's a lack of that coming through for you guys here. Is you guys don't really want to take the accountability, when things don't go your way or things aren't working. Like you're pretty quick to almost toss the blame onto somebody else or something else. And that may not be the case here this month. It seems like this is a time for you to really analyze what's going on with these lessons. And, again, with Mercury retrograde, it's the return of unfinished business, things put up on a shelf to collect us, things swept under the rug that you've kind of ignored and hope maybe you don't have to see again. And this goes with people, old habits, certain patterns of thinking. It could be a lot. And, with those patterns of thinking could be that victimhood mentality. So with you being able to, I guess, transmute that energy, I don't know if that's the right word here, but with you being able to take that energy and shift it, coming from the victimhood mentality into a place of power, a position of power of, I'm not a victim. Like I conquered, I learned my lesson, I did what I needed to do. I don't have to worry about this anymore. This is not a problem for me because I've mastered it. I've conquered my lessons. I broke free of whatever was holding me back, or the same repetitive cycle you've had for the last, 2, 3 years, maybe even 5 years, where it's like you're running the same ring of repeats with, that ex, or the same repeat argument with family members. This is a time for you to master that, break free of that, and be able to, reap the benefits. Like it's kind of like with the temperance card here. You're almost like turning water into wine. Like you're making better of the situation that you have and that you've been dealing with and handling, and you're wrapping up all of those lessons. So I feel like this Mercury retrograde for you guys, this month in November 2025 is going to be a good time where you're releasing old patterns, releasing old habits, you're moving forward, you're taking on the future. And, by next Mercury retrograde in doing this, these problems are not going to recur for you again. They're not going to happen. You're not, once you deal with it now, that's it. It's done and it's over with. So good luck with that. And that's exciting. Chapters are closing and new ones are starting for you guys. Now we have Taurus. Let's see what we got for Taurus this month. Okay, Taurus. Things are moving quickly, guys. November is a crazy month coming up. All right, let's see what we have here for Taurus. Taurus. All right, what's going on for you guys for November 2025? I feel like for you guys, things are taking a turn. They're changing a little bit. I feel like you guys, which is weird to say because we're coming into Mercury retrograde, towards the middle end of this month here, and things are usually pretty chaotic. But I feel like for you guys kind of have the opposite effect of that, which is odd. I feel like that's not really something that happens too much or something that occurs. Mercury retrograde's a time of craziness for everyone. But for you, I feel like you guys are almost really feeding off of it. You guys are taking this chaotic energy and you're like, yes, like this is what I needed. This is like helping me move forward and you're getting things done. Like I feel you almost getting a high off of the chaos. But with your sign, you guys are pretty grounded, in your movements and your thinkings where you're like, oh, this is nothing for me. So I feel like this month for you guys is almost like a sort of a celebration where again you're getting things done. I feel a lot of progress happening with you too, whether this is a good time for you to finish up things you've kind of neglected or left behind, like maybe projects you started or business ventures you were working on and you put on the back burner. This is a time now where these things are going to be resurfacing, coming back up, old ideas, having a fresh new look to them. Things are going to be moving and they're going to be moving quickly for you. But it's very exciting because this is a good forward positive movement where things are getting done. And this does kind of play into the theme of Mercury retrograde because Mercury retrograde is like it repeats. So it's a lot of, things that have been put on the back burner or things that are, put up on the high shelf, you kind of forget about them, they collect dust and then you're like, "Oh yeah, I forgot about that." And it hits you in the face of Mercury retrograde. That's kind of happening to you guys, but it's a more positive effect than the other signs are experiencing where again it's you guys revisiting old things that you just didn't have the time to deal with or life got busy, you forgot about it and you're like, oh yeah, I got to get this going. But there's also a chance for you guys too to kind of fall a little bit not behind but to maybe slow down. I feel like mid peak November, I would say maybe by like the 14th, 15th, just watch out that your energy kind of dips because you guys are going so hard, so quick, so fast that, you want to be careful that you're not burning yourself out. You're not taking on more than you can chew. There's not too much on your plate here with all these, old rejuvenated ideas and projects you're working on. So the only thing that's really going to hold you back this month and moving forward is yourself. So make sure that you're feeding off that energy. You're using that adrenaline to your advantage and you're boosting yourself forward, but just make sure you're upkeeping your, maintenance that you need along the way, whether it's like downtime, days off, um, time to unplug and rest and relax away from the world, away from other people. That way you still have that energy to give later to continue with these projects and to move things forward. Because if I see you guys taking on again more than you can chew where you guys are doing 30, 40 different things at a time. All right, that's a lot, but you guys are maybe doing 3, 4 different things at a time, right? And it's just overwhelming, because on top of that you have the job and you have your family and you have things that you need to focus on, you have your own life. So just be mindful about what you're taking back because also too, you guys can revisit this also during the next Mercury retrograde or another time where those projects will still be there. So pick ones that are something, that was really heavy on your mind, something very important to you that you keep revisiting, you keep catch yourself thinking back to, you're going to feel it. It's like a magnet pulling you and calling you towards that ideal, towards that project, whatever it is that you need to get done. You'll know, okay, I need to prioritize this. This is what I'm supposed to be focusing on. And I think you guys are going to have a lot of success, a lot of good output this month. Good luck with that, Taurus. Very exciting. All right, now we have Gemini. Let's see, what cards do we have for my Geminis here this month in this Mercury in retrograde? Okay, one more for Gemini. All right. What do we have here for you guys this month? Gemini. Okay. I feel like this month for you guys is it's a lot. I think it's going to be a lot. I think that with this month of November coming up here, you guys are going to be having some progress in romance, But I think this could also be like a return of the exes type thing. It's in alignment with Mercury retrograde going on right now, where your romantic life may have been like sort of dull, a little quiet. Maybe you weren't, getting a lot of action in that front. The exes weren't reaching out. Maybe you were no contact with somebody, and you haven't heard from them in a while. But this is the time. This is the time where things are going to ramp up, things are going to kick up, romantically, communication wise. You're going to have a lot of people knocking at your door trying to get in and talk to you, and revisit old connections and old flames and things like that. So this month is going to be pretty steamy for you guys, but with that also comes a lot of chaos, because it's a lot of old patterns, and people are creatures of habits and people of patterns. So whatever you dealt with in the past with these people who are coming back up and resurfacing, or old relationships you're revisiting, expect more of the same. How they used to behave, expect that. Expect the same fights, the same disagreements. And I feel like too, this is even a time where maybe you guys are going to be sitting here like having these exes come up, or these old opportunities, and this could be friends, family, lovers, but you guys have this time now where they're reaching out, or they want to talk, or you're thinking about them a lot and you're thinking about reaching out. And when you guys do connect and you do start talking, you may even be sitting here like, oh my God, they haven't changed. This is the same thing. This is the same thing we left off with a year ago, 2 weeks ago, a month ago. Like, what is going on? So I feel like you guys are going to come to almost like a point of realization where you're like, okay, we're on two different lives, two different places here. I don't know what they're doing, but I'm not in alignment with that right now. And you're going to start to notice within those conversations of like, things you don't agree on, even ways that they talk. Maybe it's their tone. It could be specifically what they're saying, or like maybe it's how they choose to respond, or a lack of response, when you're saying things to them. I also feel like too with you guys, maybe you guys would be feeling as though you're not being taken seriously, which I feel like is a running theme with these certain relationships. Is, you're revisiting these old conversations, and again, you're just kind of left feeling, are you even listening to me? Do you even know what I'm saying? Are you paying attention to me? Because it's giving you're not listening. Like, I'm talking, but you're not paying attention to me. So that can be really frustrating and upsetting, but this is something that you guys are going to go through and, master and learn, how to handle this. Or like, I feel like a big lesson and challenge for you guys here is learning how to walk away, which maybe isn't something that you had a lot of practice doing, or it really isn't something that you were quick to do in the past, very lenient of, I don't want to say bad behavior, but lenient and tolerant of maybe disrespect, or again, kind of bad behavior where it's like they're kind of, being a little disrespectful. Maybe they're ignoring you, or again, they're not listening to you when you talk, they're not letting you talk, they're talking over you. It's a little rude. And I feel like you guys have been more lenient, more kind in the past, but now not anymore. Not anymore. It is time for you guys to move forward with that, and um, you know, kind of take back charge, be in charge, find your strength again to move forward in these situations, so that way you're navigating them, and not allowing other people to navigate them for you. But good luck with that. It was very exciting. A lot of things you guys are going to be doing, a lot of conversations. All right, and let's see, now we have Cancer. All right, Cancer. Whoa. All my cards are flinging and flying out. Cancer, Cancer, Cancer. Let's get one more for Cancer. Beautiful. All right, Cancer. Let's see what we got going on for you guys this month. All right. My Cancers. What do I have for you guys for November 2025? I feel like this is going to be a month for you of, I want to say, solitude. I feel like it's a good idea for you guys to kind of get into hibernation mode, be ready to shut down, conversations, or plans and ideas. Like maybe you weren't like 100% feeling, or you're like, oh, I don't really want to be having this conversation today, or I just don't have the energy to talk to people. I feel like you're feeling a little drained, a little tired, and that's okay. It's nothing, super bad, but I feel like with the change of the seasons, this is a big adjustment for you guys. This is a hard time for you guys to be in the cold and to be in the darkness and quiet. So I think you guys need a little bit of like acclimation time. You guys need to take that time to adjust to your surroundings and to this new season of life that we're in. And I feel you guys almost being like slightly reclusive. I don't really see you guys trying to venture out and do new things or start new projects or new journeys, but that's not a bad thing. I think that for you guys and helping getting through this month and, almost setting yourself up for success for the next coming months throughout the winter would be to get into routines that are familiar to you and things that are familiar to you. So whether that's like old hobbies that you really enjoyed, pick those back up again, start doing those, get a book that you want to read, um have a setup where it's like you have a list of movies you've been waiting to watch or TV shows you wanted to get into. Do something familiar and comforting to you that is going to set you up for that routine, to get into it's like almost like you need to be kind of secluded, which is odd to say. I don't want to say like, go lock yourself up in the dark and sit in the dark. But I feel a level of, quietness that you guys need. And it's like solo time, because I see you guys being pretty social most of the time, Cancer. But I'm not feeling that energy for you guys this month. I'm not feeling like you guys really want to talk to people, and that's okay. Don't feel as though you have to be showing up for everything and everyone. Take that time to just kind of pull back, be a little quiet, and you can give people the heads up also. Let them know, like let your friends and family know, like, hey, like I'm fine, but I just can't really talk right now. I'm not in the mood. Like I'm not feeling up to it. No, I don't want to go out Saturday. Like I'm just trying to spend time at home and just take that time to be alone and to enjoy your home and your hobbies and your vibe. And I feel like you guys being pretty entertained by yourselves, honestly, because some people, they need that socializing, or that social setting where they need to be out and having people to talk to and having situations where, they're not alone or they can't really do things alone. But for you guys, I feel like it's the opposite this month where you prefer that and you enjoy that. And that's good. That's okay. So, also, too, with Mercury in retrograde, this is a crazy month. It's a crazy time. The crazy people are out. Like the situations, most people and most signs are going to be experiencing are just a headache and kind of annoying. And I feel like you guys are going to be able to like ward that off a lot by being, a recluse, like kind of being at home. I see you guys sitting at home with your cup of tea or coffee or hot chocolate at night. You're in your bathrobe, you got your fuzzy socks on, you guys are just chilling in the dark and you're happy. You're happy there. You don't really need to go out looking for anything. Um, you guys kind of have it all like right where you're at. So that sounds pretty nice. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your month. My Leos, what do I have for you guys this month, Leo, for November? Okay, Leo. Well, we got a lot of cards here. Okay, Leo, let's see. I need my camera to adjust here. All right. What do I have for my Leos here? I feel like for you guys, for the month of November for Leos, things are changing. There's some change coming your way for this month where this is a time where you guys are going to be dealing with a lot of old repeat behaviors and old repeat patterns. But I feel like this is specifically with patterns of thinking or ways that you guys, would have reacted. It's almost like you're programming, like whether it's societal programming or the way you were programmed, as a child and now you're an adult and, your family almost trained you to, respond this way or behave this way or whatever. I feel like for you guys, this is a big month of change in those behaviors, in those patterns, and a lot of self reflection and self evaluation on how to deprogram yourself from those old ways of thinking or even toxic ways of thinking. But I feel like this is something that you guys are pretty excited about or very dedicated to doing, which is maybe something you weren't open to in the past or over the past couple months. Like you've kind of been neglecting it where you're like, I'll do the self-work another time, okay? I'll deep dive, that's a lot, okay? That's a lot of brain power. I'll deep dive later at another date for that. But I really see you guys sitting down and evaluating yourself and evaluating your life and your circumstances and being like, "Huh, this isn't really where I want to be right now, emotionally, mentally. I'm just not in a spot that I want to be at. What can I do to fix it? How can I get there? How can I start making moves to change my thinking, to change my patterns, to change my, behavior or my responses?" So I really feel this charge and dedication, like with the Knight of Swords here, that you are just like charging into this battle of, wills within yourself that you're just ready to go. Like you want to get this fight over with and you want to move forward. And there's a lot of blessings here through the universe with you guys. With the Wheel of Fortune card over here, is this is something you're supposed to be doing. This level of self-awareness, or is that right? Yeah. This level of like self-awareness is something that you really need to be focusing on. And again, the universe is supporting that. Spirit is in support in that, where they're like, okay, this is kind of overdue. We want you to be up here. We want you to be at this level of self-awareness and just almost like spiritual awakening, where you are going to level up in not only your mental state and your emotional state, but it's like, prosperity wise, success wise, like you're finally now getting rid of things that have been weighing you down, or old, you know, negative ways of thinking, that it's like almost like they're like kind of shackling you down from moving forward. They've been holding you back a little bit. So this is going to be a really good month of transformation for you guys. And I would say this even rolls into mid-December. So you might notice a lot of change, throughout the month, but even into the next month, where you're going to look back and be like, I don't even recognize myself. I can't believe that that's how I used to act, or I can't believe that this situation that I'm experiencing again that I had last month, I have a totally different response to. Like it's not triggering me. I'm not upset anymore. I don't feel angry, or I don't feel sad when you're like, oh, I feel like I should have. That's how I would have behaved. But the old you is the old you, and you guys are ready to move forward and to take on this new persona of bigger, better, more mature, more evolved. And this is going to hit you in all areas, where it's like you're not only going to be feeling better mentally, but like maybe even physically, financially. Like there's so many benefits to this, and that's really exciting. Change can be scary, but I feel like you guys are ready for it, and you're ready to be the best that you can be. Okay, my Virgos. What do I have for Virgos for November 2025? All right, Virgo. Let's get one more here for you. Perfect. All right, Virgos. Let's take a look here. What do we have for you guys, Virgo? For my Virgos, oh, my camera's freaking out a little bit, guys. What the heck? This is Mercury retrograde, guys. Technology problems. For my Virgos, what is going on with you guys in November 2025? I feel like this is a time it's going to be a little slower for you guys, because I feel like over the last couple of months, you guys have really been nose to the grind, putting in work, waiting to see the fruits of your labor. But now I think it's going to be a little bit slower for you guys. Maybe you might not see as much progress or as much payback as you were getting in the past, for all the hard work you were putting in, for all the effort you were putting, whether that's into your business, your relationships, maybe even yourself, your health. I feel like things are kind of hitting a little bit of a plateau, which isn't a bad thing. I just think that you guys are adjusting to the change. You're adjusting to, the new situations that you're at, or the new season of life that you're in right now. And it's going to pick back up. I think it's going to change again. You're going to start to see, you know, that hard work repaying off, like it comes back around where you're like, okay, I put in all this hard work in August, like, I had a steady incline, and now I'm like nothing, but it's going to pick back up again. You're going to have that incline again, that increase. It's still coming. It's still there. But just because you are kind of at that plateau and that, quiet time, doesn't mean that it's time for you to stop putting in the work, or to neglect it, or not continue to upkeep the maintenance that's required on this plan you've been cooking up. So just be mindful of that this month is, even though you're not seeing the physical rewards or the physical payout of your hard work, it's still coming. It's still there, but it requires you to keep up that level of dedication that you have had towards these, you know, ideas and situations that payout is still coming, but it still requires that work from you. It's like at work, you have this big project you're working on and you put in all this work, but you send it up the chain and you don't hear anything. And you're like, well, what am I going to do now? I didn't hear anything back. So do I just stop working hard? No, you continue to work hard. You continue to put in that effort, show up every day, make sure you're completing your projects, make sure you're double checking your work and doing whatever it is that you need to do. So that way, when the bosses turn back around and they're like, okay, let's go back and look at their hard work. What have they been doing, in the meantime, while they've been waiting? And they want to make sure, you're not really slacking off. Like you're still maintaining and keeping that level of work ethic that you've had. So I think that's pretty exciting for you guys. You guys do have a lot more coming in, a lot more rewards to come, and they are on their way. Don't worry about it. But again, I don't want to say don't get greedy, but just be mindful of, you know, slowing down and, just sitting on the fruits of your labor and be like, oh, this is good. I got everything I need. There's still more to come. So just continue that hard work. Keep the consistency. Just keep the consistency. Keep going at a steady pace. Don't burn yourself out. Don't do, too fast, too quick, but just continue going at the pace that you're going and you'll see that rewards. You'll see that payout. And that's really exciting. And now we have Libra. Let's see, what do we have for Libra for the month of November? Libra. Let's see. All right, what do we have for Libra this month? So for Libras this month, I feel like for you, there is a lot of emotional processing you guys are going to be going through. I don't want to say emotional turmoil because I don't really think that's, it's that chaotic. But I feel like there are some things that you guys haven't dealt with necessarily that may be resurfacing. So this could be, I would say, maybe dating back over the past 6 to 8 months, something internally, like, emotionally that you really haven't dealt with and released. So, this could be a feeling of hurt, a feeling of neglect. Maybe you felt unsupported or you weren't listened to at the time, but you kind of held on to that. You harbored those feelings. And I feel like with this upcoming full moon, as well as Mercury retrograde lasting us through the month of November, this is going to be something that's coming back around for you to deal with and to process and to release on your own. And with the, presence of these heavy emotions, I feel like you can kind of be almost wallowing a little bit in your hurt. You feel a little wounded. You feel a little skittish of other people, maybe not as accepting, to let new people in, to want to start new conversations with people. And that's okay. You need to tend to your wounds that like kind of have been bleeding out a little bit. They've been neglected. So take your time, process that, go over, this scenario that left you feeling hurt, but perform a ceremony to release that, to relinquish these, heavy feelings that you've been harboring this time. So journal them out, write a letter to yourself, then burn it, talk about it with friends. Like these are all ways to process things and to alchemize, this almost essentially trauma of what you've been through. And in doing that and releasing that and using this energy for better, for the greater good, again, alchemizing it, you are going to step into this power with the emperor here of stability, of security, support, with his red cloth and his cloak here, he is in a position of power. So that's a mindset and a mentality that throughout the end of the month, you're going to start to sit in, be a little bit more comfortable in, but it's going to take that time. It's going to take that healing that you need to have in order to get these emotions released and out of the way for future things to take place. We can't we can't really start new things, or we can't accept more new things if we don't release, our baggage. We don't release things that we already have. You can only hold so much, and the universe only gives you so much at a time. So that's something you have to be mindful for. In order for one door to open, another has to close. So let's cleanse this energy, get it out, and you guys will be back on track. And Scorpio for the month of November. Let's see. Okay. Scorpio, what the heck? Oh, Lord. This month is so chaotic, everybody. It's so crazy. We got a lot of stuff going on. All right. And Scorpios, what do we have for you guys here this month? Scorpios, let's see. You guys are coming out on the other side of a transformation, of almost like a shedding of your skin. And, it's kind of like, it reminds me of a snake, where it's like, I don't know if it's before hibernation or whenever they do it, they shed their skin, right? They release the skin that no longer fits them, and they grow into another one. That's kind of like you guys. That's what's going on with you guys right now, is you have come on to the other side of this transformation, and you are now done. You are, at the point of completion here, but it's time for new things. It's time for a new journey with you guys. And I think this has to do with, you know, your capacity for giving, giving yourself, giving to others. I feel like in the past, maybe you guys have stretched yourself a little too thin, trying to appease everybody, make, everyone feel comfortable, or also too, you guys like have a very go-getter personality and attitude. Like maybe you're trying to go to all the functions, all the parties, you're trying to go out every week and do everything at once, but you're stretching yourself a little thin here. And, with this transformation that you've completed, and, you now should be at the end point of it, it's almost like a transformation of like your ideas or your mindset on your free time and on what you should be doing. Like, what is fun to you? I feel like fun has been, redefined. Maybe again, fun in the past was going out every week, going to the club or drinking, doing all these things. But now, your terms of fun and your terms of giving is a little bit different. So I feel like you're a little more stingy with, what you're willing to give out and what you're willing to, allow people to have, from you in your time. And that's okay. You can be a little guarded. It's okay to be cautious. And it's a good idea to also kind of keep tabs and check on where you're burning your energy, where you're feeding, certain things and certain other sources of energy. Like, are you feeding negative things? Are you feeding things that are giving you positive feedback? And it's a matter too about how you feel at the end of it. So you guys may have noticed, again, that burnout feeling. You're like, I'm giving, like even conversations. I feel like conversations for you guys may have been pretty emotionally taxing by the end of it. And you're like, damn, why have I been talking this long? Or why am I listening to somebody this long? But I feel like you guys are pretty quick now, to be decisive and, your cutoff, or to be decisive in what you're willing to extend to other people. So I think that this month for you guys, it's going to bring, another set of opportunities to almost master that, like to master what you've learned in this transformation and this last, test that you've been put through. And it's going to be a time for you to really hone these skills and understand, how to apply them going forward. And the universe wants to see that. They want to see that the lessons they're giving you, you're able to walk out and you're able to apply to, your everyday life. So I feel like for this month, that's kind of what's going to be happening to you guys a bit, Scorpio, is that you guys are going to be tested a little bit in certain ways. Maybe your plate gets a little too full, but that's a time for you to kind of step back and be like, okay, I got to take some things off. I gotta recenter myself. I gotta be just, very picky with what I'm allowing in my life and allowing in my circle. And what am I putting on my plate? It's kind of like, and this is figuratively, okay, kind of like watch your figure, and I'm not, and again, it's not literally, but, spiritually, like if you look at yourself, like, what are you feeding yourself? Like, are you feeding yourself a lot of junk and a lot of heavy stuff? Make sure, you're getting your veggies, you're eating your fruits, you're taking in things and energy that is nutritious for your mind, your body, your soul. And it's going to pay off. It is going to pay off in the long run. So I think some of you may have a little bit of a setback in trying to apply that lesson. Because again, I feel like, maybe you guys still have that, whether it's like the FOMO mentality or, the people pleaser mentality, like it's kind of hard for you guys to get rid of that, but stick to your gut, stick to your lessons that you've learned, walk it out, Get through this hard patch, get through the uncomfortableness, and you will be on the other side of that. Sagittarius. Whoa. What do I have for you guys this month? All right, Sagittarius. Sagittarius, what's going on for you guys in the month of November? Well, I feel like for you guys, which I wish my camera would focus a little better for you guys, sorry. But I feel like Sagittarius for you guys have been putting in a lot of work. I feel like you guys are trying to transform. I don't know if it's, your resources, maybe it's your money, or I feel like it has more so to do with like your social connections, your business connections. You guys have really been trying to put in work to build up your stack, to collect your benefits, reap your rewards of what it is that you've been, working hard towards. And that's great. It is. It's great. But I feel like that's kind of made you guys um, you know, a little tunnel visioned on everything else. I kind of feel like other areas have been neglected because you guys have been so honed in on like leveling up one certain thing that you've kind of neglected the maintenance of other areas in your life. And, whether that's relationships, your health, it could be your fun time, it could be, just it really could be anything, even time at home, with your family or your pets. I feel like you guys have kind of neglected certain areas because you're so busy and so focused on putting in the drive to get to the end and to do things. And, having that determination is great. Having that level of consistent effort is, you're going to see a payout, but you might start to notice and see other things kind of fall to the wayside. And when they do, eventually, inevitably, you're going to start to realize that you're lacking in other areas. And you might even be upset because you see those other areas kind of tanking and it's affecting you. You're getting that pushback now of like, hey, you've been neglecting this for so long, or hey, we're kind of left out over here. And it's like now these other areas are failing and they're not succeeding, but you may have left them in a good standing spot. You left them alone to go look over at this other goal that you're pushing and achieving, but all the other goals have kind of died. And, you didn't water them, you didn't feed them, they're kind of done now. So this month, you could be a little preventative, because I don't feel as though all the things you guys have left alone are like totally dead and gone, but they're getting there. Okay, they're on the way to kind of being out the door. But, taking this month of November to slow down, and also too with Mercury retrograde, this is a time to slow down. You don't want to rush. This isn't a time to rush and make hasty decisions, and starting new things you haven't pre-planned before the retrograde is not a good idea either. But, going back and revisiting old things and old hobbies or habits or goals that you have set for yourself is a good idea. And if you're able to sit down, count up everything you have, look at, write out the goals or the accomplishments that you're looking at, it will almost kind of be like a playbook for you. And it'll really lay out and map out the details of what you need to be doing and what kind of effort you need to be doing or what kind of way you need to be showing up for these things. So be mindful of that this month, that this is a time for you guys to slow down, keep your goal oriented mind, but make it broader. Don't be so tunnel vision. Don't just, say I have one goal only, I'm focused. You have many goals. You have multiple things you want to achieve. You can achieve all of them. It's perfectly within your capability to do so, but they need time and attention. They're not just going to get done on themselves. They're not going to be completed just by leaving them in the corner and ignoring them. Like, you have to put in time and energy. You have to feed these things. You have to water them. So, be careful of that mentality. Try not to get too stuck on, the one thing and only one thing. And this month, you'll start to see a lot more success pick up in the other areas once you start to pay attention to them. All right, Capricorn. What do I have for Capricorn in the month of November? All right. Capricorn. What do I have for you guys here? Let's see. I want to make sure this focuses. All right. What do we got going on for Capricorns in the month of November? Hmm. I feel like for you guys, Capricorn, you guys have maybe been a little blinded in a relationship or in a situation with someone you were close with. This could be a significant other, a partner, a family member, a sibling, a child. It really could be, any close relationship that you have. But I feel like you guys have kind of been a little blinded by the love you have for this person. And we're kind of, not really seeing or acknowledging even, their lack or their bad behaviors or, maybe their um negative tendencies like towards your relationship because I feel like this relationship has been a little bit selfish, selfish on their end where you're putting in time, you're putting in effort, you're showing up, maybe you're showing up in ways that you can show up or you're able to, whether this is dedicating your time to them, maybe you guys are, buying them things or, you're trying to help them reach their goals or whatever it is that you guys are doing, you're reaching into their energy to try to help them and to be there for them and to support these people. But I feel like they haven't really been doing the same for you. And I don't want to say you guys are being taken advantage of, but I feel like it's kind of on that way to, you're teetering on the edge of like, is this a real, balanced relationship or am I overreaching and they're overtaking? What is going on here? And I think that this too has stirred up a lot of late night thoughts for you guys, maybe even times at night, like here, with the 9 of Swords, like, I feel like this has maybe brought you guys also a time of, questioning at night where, you're sad, you're alone, you're kinda questioning, "Damn, I really did a lot. I put in a lot, but I don't feel like I got a lot back. I don't feel like that energy was reciprocated. I don't feel like they care about me in the way that I care about them." And that can be really hard, and that can be really upsetting to go through and to deal with. And, but I think you're now starting to realize that. And throughout the month of November, I think that's really gonna play out for you guys, where you're having this, like, awakening and realization on the relationship that you're like, "Oh, I don't like this. I'm uncomfortable. This isn't what I signed up for when I first started seeing this person or, when we, were a couple months ago. This is not what I wanted at all." And I think that this is gonna bring up, a lot of conversations for you. Maybe you feel like you need to go out of the way and talk to these people or, conversations amongst your friends or families trying to expel this and get this out or to think this over. But I think you guys are starting to realize that, not every relationship you have can stay forever or can be maintained forever. And sometimes things have an end chapter and things need to be wrapped up. And going forward throughout this month, just keep in mind, what do you want? What do you want in a relationship? How do you want to feel? And evaluate that. Are you getting that back? You have to, if you look at yourself like a cup, you're half full, but if you keep pouring yourself out and you're pouring your energy and your time and your love into someone else and they're not refilling that cup for you, you're on empty. You have nothing else to give. You're getting drained essentially of your love, of your support, of your compassion and kindness towards others. So make sure that this month we're taking the time to look that over and to make sure that we're not emptying ourselves out, but that we're also being refilled and replenished because you guys need that as well. So, good luck with that. Okay, Aquarius. What do I have for Aquarius for the month of November? Aquarius. Whoa. All right, Aquarius, Aquarius, Aquarius. What do we have going on for the month of November here for you guys? Okay, Aquarius. I feel like for you guys, this is oh, my camera's struggling. Guys, it is Mercury in retrograde shadow period, okay? Technology is not my friend right now. All right. I'm sorry. So what's going on for Aquarius? What is happening for you guys for the month of November? I feel like for you guys, this is a time of I don't want to say turmoil. Okay, that's not the right word, but I feel like family wise, this is a time of maybe a little bit of chaos. I don't know if it's because it's the holiday season coming up or whatever it is, but I feel like, you might have a situation where you have somebody, in your family, whether you guys are, getting together for the holidays and, doing fall things, whatever it is, you may have somebody kind of try to be like a really big, like, authoritative figure. Like, they want to wear the crown, they want to be in charge, just really having this like overwhelming energy and presence of like bossiness. And I don't think that flies too well for you guys, Aquarius. Okay. I don't think you guys are enjoying that. I don't think you guys want to be told what to do. I don't really see you guys as the person, the type of people to kind of lay down and take it. So I feel like this is going to cause some problems and some rifts. And, this is almost like a kind of like a warning for you guys to heed, right? Where it's like, be prepared for this, right? Be a little prepared when you guys are going to family events, or even friends, it could be a big group of friends. Like, I just see a big group of people, be mindful of you guys going and spending time with all these people that they're not, um, like expect it. Expect the person, kind of like irritating you, grating on your nerves. It's almost like when you go to work and your coworker called out and it's just going to be a crappy day. It's the busiest day of the year and you're like, "Oh my god, like I just feel it." It's like you just prepare yourself mentally in the car, you take that 5 minutes. You're like, "Okay, I have my coffee. I'm going to take a deep breath. Nothing's going to bother me today." Like a duck, with water on its back or whatever the saying is, like I'm just going to let it roll off my shoulders. It's kind of like that. That's the type of warning or the energy that you guys should be having going into these situations is just let it roll off. Let it roll off your shoulders. If you need to walk away, you walk away. If you get to the dinner or you get to this event and you're there for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and you're like, "Yeah, I've had enough of this," prepare to leave. Like set that in your mind where it's like, once I get uncomfortable or once I don't want to do this anymore, you can allow yourself to leave and walk away. I feel some of you might really have this like desire and pull to want to speak up and to say something and like shut these people down, for how they're behaving or call out this bad behavior. And while you can do that, I feel as though for you guys, it might be a little more beneficial to just kind of ignore it and to walk away. Because, during this time, during this month, this is a pretty chaotic month. So during, November, dealing with Mercury in retrograde, expect fights, expect people to act up, car accidents, like nobody's in their right mind at this time. I don't know. And I feel like this Mercury retrograde is just a little more rougher, a little rough waters since we've had in the past. But, it's almost like expect it. Expect the bad behavior, expect people to do this. And, when these emotions are heightened and, these arguments happen, sometimes it's better to just leave it and to walk away, revisit it next month, talk about it in, a couple weeks, in December. So, it might be a good idea for you guys to, again, kind of get in that mindset, mentally prepare yourself like, okay, I'm going to be calm. I'm going to center myself. I'm not going to allow other people's bad behavior and bad energy to rub me the wrong way. And that does take a pretty strong, mentality and personality to have to uphold because people can really ruffle some feathers and get under your skin. But if you almost like, envision yourself like in a big, ball, like a big steel ball, or, you're putting on this big, thick leather coat and you're like, "Yeah, you can't get me. You can't touch me. You can't penetrate me." Like there's no way anyone's getting through my thick skin right now. So keep that mindset, drag it into the next month of December and, things will be okay. Just remember, take a deep breath, expect people to act up, expect, this type of confrontation to possibly happen, but, don't take too much to heart, allow it to roll off of your shoulders and you guys will be fine. All right. And last but not least, my Pisces. What do I have for my Pisces? One more. Pisces, what do we got going on for you guys? I feel like for you guys, Pisces, you have been in a time or like area, I would say maybe the last month, maybe 6 to 8 weeks. You guys have really been in like a mindset of seclusion. And you may have been reclusive like the hermit here. You're like, "I don't want to talk to anybody. I'm off the dating apps. I'm done. Like, I'm not reaching out to people who don't want to talk to me." Like, I just feel you guys really sheltering and pulling back from people And now you guys kind of want the opposite. I feel that switching and flipping where you're like, ah, actually, I want to be social. I want to go out and talk to people. I want to make my presence known. And you guys really have this desire and, craving for that attention, for that community, for, conversations with people. Like, I feel like you guys really want to be stimulated more. And, this could be on a romantic level, but, that's great. It's great. It's funny how you guys kind of flip-flop a little bit with that, behavior of like, I want it to be alone. And then you're like, no, I don't want to be alone anymore. So, I see you guys trying to get back out there and trying to, socialize more. And I don't know if it's like the winter blues coming in or what, maybe the change of the seasons, like you guys know it's gonna be cold, it's gonna be winter, like, you're like, "I need warmth, I need people, I need to surround myself with community." So, I feel you guys really starting to try to take more things on, but with, like, the 10 of, wands here, we wanna be a little careful about how much we're taking on. We don't wanna overload ourselves, we don't want to push ourselves to the point of exhaustion and push ourselves to the point of, taking on too much, like, way more than you can handle. Play the field, go out, have your conversations, join your clubs, do your hobbies, start dating, whatever it is that, this applies to your life right now. Do that, but within reason, right? Like maybe say, okay, I'm going to do 5 things, or I'm going to start 5 new conversations, or I'm going to, go out to 5 new events or 5 new dates, whatever it is, start small. You have enough variety, you have enough to keep you entertained, but it's enough to manage and it's enough for you to handle on your own. So, start looking into those things, start planning. I feel like too planning and mapping out like what you want to do for the winter month, for the rest of November into December, plan that out. Like what do you expect? What do you want back? What are you looking for? And putting that out also into the universe is going to bring that back to you. And that's good. It's almost like you're kind of attracting it. You're getting that energy where it's like in the past, you're like, I want to be by myself. Nobody talked to me. So it's like everything dried up. And now you're like, no, I want to be talked to. Everyone talked to me. And now you're going to have an influx of that. So what you're putting out is what you're going to be getting back. And I think too, for you guys, that the late at night time where it's like the quietness, I think that really hits you guys a lot. And, during the month of November, I think you guys are going to start to notice that, that downtime that you had or that quietness you had is almost like filled with like a refreshing sense where you're like, oh, this feels great. Because in the past, you guys may have been like, oh my God, it's so quiet and it's so lonely and it's so dark and I'm so upset. But now I feel like you guys are going to be craving that because you're so busy. You're doing so many things. You're going to be sitting there now at nighttime where you're like, oh, thank God it's quiet. Thank God, I get 20 minutes to myself. I can spend the rest of the night in the dark alone, no conversations like, today drained me. That's so great. I get to be by myself at home now. So I think too, you guys are really going to start appreciate your alone time more, where it's in the past, you may have like looked at it a little negatively or like kind of shunned it where you're like, I'm too alone. This is sad and this is depressing. I'm by myself. But I think this month for you is going to shift that mindset of like, I love being alone. Thank God I'm alone. Like I've been waiting all day to be alone. So I think it's kind of like you guys are getting the best of both worlds here. And this is a good month for you guys. You're getting that balance of like that really extroverted social life and then also that introverted quiet downtime. But again, I think you're really going to have a newfound respect for that quiet time. And that's exciting. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that month too as a Pisces myself, guys. So good luck, everybody. And that was the November horoscopes. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you guys all have a great rest of your month. And I will post again for December shortly. Good luck, guys.